There is a quiet kind of grief that comes from realizing how easily you can let people go. How quickly a bond can fade inside you even when the other person still feels connected. And how strange it can feel to watch your own heart close a door without asking for permission. You may have noticed that when someone steps too close, when a relationship starts to carry real weight, something in you gently but firmly begins to pull away, not in anger and not in drama, but with a calm finality that can surprise even you. It is not because you do not care, and it is not because you are cold. It is because your mind learned a long time ago that attachment has a cost, and it learned how to pay that cost in advance by leaving first. The ability to detach quickly is not an absence of feeling. It is the presence of a very old emotional intelligence that once had to keep you safe. Somewhere in your past, closeness became complicated. It might have been inconsistent, overwhelming, disappointing, or quietly painful in a way that never fully resolved. When connection does not feel reliable, the nervous system does not wait to be heard again. It creates a strategy. That strategy is emotional distance. Over time, your brain learned that if it could step back fast enough, it could avoid the deeper ache that comes from needing someone who might not stay, might not understand, or might not be gentle with what you give them. So when you detach, what is really happening is not rejection, it is regulation. Your body is reading a familiar pattern, even if the present moment looks different, and it is trying to keep you from repeating an old story. The mind does not distinguish between then and now the way we think it does. It responds to echoes, a tone of voice, a shift in attention, a feeling of being taken for granted, or even the growing intimacy itself can quietly signal danger to a nervous system that once learned that closeness leads to loss. When that happens, detachment feels like relief. It feels like breathing again. People who can detach quickly are often deeply sensitive, even if they appear emotionally contained. They notice subtle changes in energy, tiny shifts in how someone treats them, small inconsistencies that others might ignore. Their awareness is sharp because at some point, being aware meant being safe. So when something feels even slightly off, the mind begins to disengage. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a smooth, controlled way that feels almost automatic. One day you are present, and the next day you are already half gone, and you may not even know exactly when it happened. This kind of detachment is also shaped by a deep relationship with self-reliance. When you grow up needing to be emotionally independent, you learn not to lean too heavily on anyone else. You become your own anchor. You hold your own weight. That strength is real, but it comes with a quiet cost. Because if you never fully rest inside someone else's presence, then letting go becomes easier than staying. You do not collapse when a connection ends because you were never fully leaning on it in the first place. There is also something about detachment that gives a sense of control. When relationships once felt unpredictable or overwhelming, being able to walk away quickly becomes a way to feel steady again. It is not about power over the other person. It is about power over your own emotional exposure. Leaving before you are too attached means you do not have to sit in the uncertainty of whether you will be hurt, misunderstood, or left behind. The ending is on your terms, even if it happens quietly inside. And yet, even as you detach, there is often a softness beneath it. You might still think about the person. You might still feel a quiet ache or a subtle curiosity about how they are. Detachment does not erase memory or meaning. It simply creates a boundary around your heart. A way of saying this is as close as I can let this go without losing myself. That boundary was not built because you did not want connection. It was built because you wanted to survive it. Over time, detachment can become so familiar that it feels like part of your personality. But it is not who you are. It is how you adapted. It is how your mind learned to move through a world that did not always meet you with the safety you needed. When you let someone go quickly, you are not proving that you are unfeeling. You are revealing how deeply you learned that being attached can hurt. There is a strange kind of loneliness that comes with this. Not the loneliness of being alone, but the loneliness of knowing that you could be closer, that you could feel more. But that something inside you always keeps one foot outside the door. You may watch others grieve endings in a way that feels foreign to you, and you may wonder why your own goodbyes feel so quiet. But silence does not mean emptiness. It means your grief learned to travel inward, where it can be held without being seen. When you detach, it is often because your mind has already processed the ending long before it happens in real life. You begin to emotionally step back when something starts to feel uncertain. And by the time the relationship actually ends, you have already done much of the grieving. To others, it looks sudden. To you, it feels like a long, quiet letting go that finally reached the surface. There is a kind of dignity in this, even if it is painful. It shows how deeply you have learned to protect what matters to you. Your heart is not fragile, but it is careful. It knows how much it can hold, and it knows when to release. That ability did not come from nowhere. It came from experience, from disappointment, from moments when you needed to be stronger than you wanted to be. And if you are listening to this and feeling something stir inside you, a sense of recognition or a quiet ache, that is not weakness. That is your inner world acknowledging itself. Some stories do not need to be spoken out loud to be real. Sometimes just being quietly understood is enough to soften something that has been tight for a long time. As this feeling settles, it might be comforting to know that somewhere beyond this moment, others are carrying the same quiet patterns, the same gentle distance, the same way of loving without fully leaning. There's something deeply human in that shared silence, even when no words are exchanged. This is where the mind meets memory, where psychology touches the places we rarely show, and where quiet awareness becomes its own kind of strength. In the soft space between thought and feeling, you continue to move forward, not loudly, not dramatically, but with a steady, intelligent grace that belongs only to you.